Dion Price, This Youth Generation, Life of a Youth Worker. Today we had a interesting conversation in our facility and environment we're working about the increased amount of hate speech and the tension, racial tension that's not only in our environment, it's also nationally, it's infiltrated in sports and all that. So the focus of us as youth workers is how do we redirect the young people that we work with? And my message is very clear is we cannot allow this ill-spirited influence around us, even that is perpetuated by adults, to infiltrate the innocent. We cannot allow, do not allow, even people close to me, and I really encourage us, don't allow this negative, hateful spirit around us to infiltrate and to influence you. Don't let this hate cause you to be ill-spirited just as well. So we got to redirect our energies and not allow all of this negativity to cause us, to turn us into something that's ill-spirited inside. I was once that young, angry black man when I was in college. I was Malcolm X Farrakhan. I was the blackest kid on campus at San Francisco State. And my first reaction to learning all the injustices and the history and the trauma and drama and mistreatment that black people have experienced in the centuries in this country, my first reaction was anger. But I learned over time and maturity that it's not the people, it's a spirit and influence. And everybody is not sick or infected by that spirit of hate. And that is also true today. There's a lot of hate out there, but let's not allow ourselves to get infected. So I had an opportunity this week to communicate in my line of work with two young men. One young man, African-American young man, was very passionate. We had a guest speaker, Miss Wanda Johnson, who is the mother of Oscar Grant, who was killed several years ago in a controversy by a BART police officer. And in that discussion, this young man was so hateful. He was so angry, and he just left the meeting because he was so passionately angry and bitter and mad. And he left that conversation because the conversation was going toward we cannot allow ourselves to get influenced by so much hate that we start reacting, and that's going to do us more damage than good. And my message to him was similar to what we communicate in This Generation, TYG. My good friend Mike Johnson says, it's okay to be right, but you don't want to be dead right. You don't want to be so passionately right that you want to fight for your rights so much that it costs you your life. There's a wise and an appropriate time to make an effort to fight those battles. So as that young man left, I made sure I grabbed him and I reconnected with him. There was also another young man in that same meeting, a Caucasian young man who was really dismissive and seemed to be very conservative. And people were, it was a sense that he didn't care about what was going on with these people, be it recognizing that there's a disproportionate amount of unfair treatment for black people, particularly when dealing with the cops. So my focus was who needs my attention the most. I did not blow the opportunity of connecting with both of them. Now, most of us would have gravitated toward the African American young man. Let's just get him back on track. Yes, he needs that too, but that other young man needs that message just as bad as the other, because if he takes that negative attitude out, and he gets a hold of somebody that thinks like that, that's going to perpetuate more hate and more divisiveness. So what did I do? I made sure I connected with him. And I shared with him how important it is for us to care about the human spirit first. If it does not bother you to see another human being get killed, then something is wrong with you. It doesn't matter whether that person is African American, Caucasian, or what have you. We should care because we have a human spirit about us. Let's move toward that. So I encourage all of us who is going through all this drama, and it's very easy to get caught up in it, whether it's the NFL blackout, it's the Trump versus everybody else. All this divisiveness and hate, let's be sure not to allow it to infiltrate us to the point where we're getting just as sick and infected by the spirit of hate. Just a thought, just a message. This youth generation, Dion Price, just a humble servant trying to make a difference.